talk about myself today because today actually marks the 9th anniversary of my grandmother's death. She died June 8th, 2002. I believe it was 6 a.m. when she was pronounced dead. Basically, it's really hard to talk about because it kind of feels like the first day that I found out, you know what I mean? Like, I still remember, exactly where I was, how I felt, and just everything, It, like, plays back in the back of my head all the time. It was worse when I was living in my mom's house because that's where, everything happened, and that's, always going to happen like that. It just affects me. So, anyway, the night before she died, well, the morning of, it was 5 a.m. I woke up, and I never wake up at night. And so I went downstairs, and, the cat was freaking out. So I went downstairs, and I looked over, and I thought, oh my god, somebody's breaking in. But then there was all these paramedics surrounded this chair in my kitchen, and I was just thinking to myself, what the hell is going on? So I walked back upstairs, and I sit on my bed, and I just kind of just think to myself, what is going on? Am I in a dream? Is this some sort of nightmare? Am I going to wake up? And I look over, and my grandma's not in her bed, so I went to the top of the stairs, and, I saw my grandma being taken away on a stretcher, and I will never forget just seeing her so sick, and like something was wrong, and I knew it. And I walked downstairs, and my mom was really upset, and she said she was going to go to the hospital, and I asked her, should I go on my trip? Is she going to be okay? Is everything going to be okay? My mom hugged me and said everything was going to be fine, and that I should just go on my trip, and everything's going to be fine. And so I go on my trip, and I wake up the next morning, and at 9 a.m., and I go, something's wrong. So I call my mom, and I told my mom about the dream I had. I said, Grandma died, and everybody was upset at me. I told her, Grandma died, and she said, yeah, she passed away this morning. I said, yeah, in my dream, she died, and she was, no, Katie, she's passed away this morning. And I went, and I couldn't talk at all, and it took a couple minutes for me to think of what to say, and so my mom said my cousins were going to come pick me up, and so my friend's parents came down and gave her directions to get to my cousins, and my friend Liz, she told me that, well, I never liked her anyway because she was always a bitch, and I was like, did you really just say that? I mean, it took a lot for me not to punch this girl in her face. I mean, I was crying, I was lost. I didn't know what to think or feel or, anything, so I went to pack my stuff, and my cousins came, picked me up, we went to Hardee's, and, I really wasn't that hungry, and I just was just so depressed, and, I just remember when we were at the wake, the last time I actually saw her, like, she was in the coffin, and it was so hard to see her like that, so lifeless and just, like, not alive, you know what I mean? It's the worst experience in my life because my grandma was, like, we were super close. We shared a room together, I spent weekends at her house, when she lived with us, we shared a room for, like, a year and a half, I believe, and it was just, yeah, we got on each other's nerves, but I love her to death, and she's amazing, and for her to be gone, it hurts just as much as it did the first time I found out, because I just know she's never coming back, and I really hope that she thinks I've done a good job in life, and I hope she's proud of me because I know there's some things in my life she would not have liked or approved of and would be yelling at me right now, but I think in the end she still would have been proud of me and still would have hugged me. And I know she would have been happy to meet Barry and see Lily. She would have been thrilled because, Lillian was her name and she always wanted a kid to have her name, and it's just so hard. Because all I wanted to do was hug her again. If I could have anything in the world, I just want to be able to hug her again. and tell her I love her. I would trade all the money in the world just to have one more moment. Because I miss her. So, Nonnie, if you ever, not that you would see this, but if you're listening, I love you and I miss you. And I'm always thinking about you.